Lots of Tesla stock news today. Multiple things just happened that all Tesla stock investors need to be aware of. First, very quickly, on Friday, then Tesla stock dropped 5%. I said I'm going to be buying more Tesla stock than the market opens. So I did, and the stock is basically back where it was earlier. James says, this is insanely bullish if true. This post says, I got some data today. It looks like we are going to ramp up very quickly and reach over 80% of where the old Model 3 monthly production number was in September, and starting with October, we'll be at least at 120% of the previous production, and in November, this post says we will be at 150%. This, of course, is just a rumor, but I think every single Tesla stock investor should be aware of this. Now, how credible is this account? Well, this account tweeted about the Model 3 refresh right before it was announced officially, and he said that it was supposed to be announced officially in the middle of September, so not too far off. So this account does have some credibility. A few more things that all Tesla stock investors have to know right now. This one is pretty important. Looks like the revised Model 3 is a hit. A Chinese sales lady said recently that the daily order volume of the new Model 3 is more than 10 times of the normal daily order volume. With the website crashing earlier, and now after hearing this, I think it is pretty clear that the refreshed Model 3, at least in China so far, is a huge success, and the only hurdle next quarter for Tesla in China will be, can they make enough of them? Here's the next important Tesla stock news story for all Tesla stock investors to know about. Pingwest, which is an influential Chinese media outlet, is now permanently banned by Weibo, which is huge in China. It's a bit like Twitter, after losing a defamation lawsuit filed by Tesla China, and the defendant refused to publicly apologize to the plaintiff. For long-term Tesla stock investors, I think this story is actually more important than it first appears, because rising hostility towards foreign brands is counterproductive to China's push to solicit foreign investments amid a deflating economy, and the ban is viewed by many as a signal from the government to improve the investment environment. This is important because this is a fairly clear signal that Tesla is welcome in China. And for now, China remains a very important market for Tesla. I don't think it's the most important market. I would say the US would be more important to Tesla, but China is incredibly important. And here's the next important thing for all of us Tesla stock investors to understand, but it's also important to know that there are a few caveats, so let me go through the whole thing before you make any conclusions here. Here, Gary Black refutes an excuse for Tesla price cuts. A few in the comments can accept it. We don't need to be positive about everything Tesla. This is good context, as Bradford about this post from Gary Black. He says, despite all the talk that high interest rates are hurting U.S. auto sales, U.S. August seasonal adjusted selling rate was 17% higher this year than it was last August. 15.4 million versus 13.2 million. Consumers are still buying cars and trucks despite much higher payments. A lot of Tesla bears will scare you with that data, but Jeff is a supply chain expert, and he says, I agree, SAAR is up, but we're also comparing to time frames where US and European automakers for the US market had their thumbs up, their butts on supply, or was an excuse. Their inventories were too low. Regardless, Tesla Q3 2023 will probably be 30 to 40% higher than Q3 of 2022. So last year we had about this much demand and about this much supply. This year there's about this much demand, but it exceeds last year's supply, and this year we have maybe about this much supply. So it appears that overall we are doing better, but in reality, I think there's a lot less demand this year. But the thing with Tesla is just ahead of everyone else because it's growing so quickly. Everything shows up in Tesla's numbers just much sooner than if you were to look at any other automaker, basically. In the beginning of this year, we saw Tesla's price cuts because the backlog was gone, and now we are starting to see the same thing with other automakers because they finished going through their backlog, and now a lot of them have inventories that are fairly high. This is important Tesla stock news. Tesla is reportedly still waiting for permit approval before it can start construction of Giga Mexico, according to an official document cited by Forbes Mexico. The document is a request for change of land use for the 642-acre site and needs approval from the Environmental Ministry before it can request construction permits. Tesla estimates that the duration of the construction of the work will be 36 months, a period that includes all the works to be carried out. This does not mean it will take 36 months for production to start. For example, one way to think about Giga Berlin would be to say that it is still technically under construction because there's a huge expansion happening right now as we speak, but the cars are coming out of the factory every single day. The Mexican subsidiary company at the American electric vehicle manufacturer Tesla will wait 60 working days for the authorities to issue its resolution and authorization to build the plant in Santa Catarina, Nuevo Leon, with an investment valued at $5 billion. In other words, these are the guys that Tesla would need to meet and then, offer some extremely transparent payments perhaps to them. And then this is only if Tesla wanted to speed this up. Offer them very transparent payments, so transparent in fact that it would be invisible to everyone else. We just got delivery numbers from China based on the insurance data, and it came in almost at 12,000 deliveries, which is actually really good considering that we did not have any Model 3s left. So if you wanted a Model 3, you couldn't get one. So therefore, I consider this number to be actually pretty good. And in China, Tesla just set new records for the best August ever. And it is the best second month of the quarter ever. And so far, if you just look at the first 2 months of any quarter, this quarter is going to have the best first 2 months. So I am very happy with how things are going. Now, I do expect the deliveries to slow down a little bit because there is no Model 3 inventory at all. It is still, though, of course, possible that Tesla may have a record quarter in China because these first 2 months, they're pretty strong. If we look at this chart and if we just extrapolate this line, it does seem that the chances are fairly slim that Tesla will have another record quarter this time, but the next quarter, I think, is extremely likely that Tesla will obliterate all of the records, because likely Tesla will be able to produce as many Model 3s as needed. And great Tesla stock news here. Tesla registrations in Europe have exceeded the 2022 full year total in 8 months. I mean, you look at this chart and it looks like this line right here has nothing to do with these previous lines, but this is just 1 year apart. These are sales in Europe, and you can see that we just had so far in Europe as well as in China also the best first 2 months of any quarter so far. Maybe it won't be the best quarter ever because there's gonna be no Model 3 inventory really, or not enough. But you can point to the first 2 months of this quarter and say there's a demand problem. Well, we just had the best first 2 months ever. So good news for us Tesla stock investors. Samsung has announced it has signed a contract to supply camera modules for vehicles to a US electric vehicle company. The company is believed to be Tesla. Samsung is expected to supply ultra high definition products with more than 5 million pixels. This is possibly for Tesla's Hardware 5. Tesla drops advertised Powerwall price by $800 in Australia. To oversimplify, Powerwalls really are just mostly batteries. So you have to understand what the battery prices are doing before worrying about, Tesla is dropping prices because there is no demand at all. So if there is a lot of demand, then of course the prices will come up. But you can see that the cost of batteries will come down because simply the raw material costs are dropping. As you can see right here, it's almost in free fall, and we are now very close to where we were back in 2017. So it only makes sense that the prices would also be coming closer to where they were back in 2017. That same argument is somewhat valid also for Tesla vehicles, but with vehicles you have seats in the cars, you have a steering wheel, you have a lot of nice trimmings, you have multiple doors. You have so many other parts, like also tires, that Powerwalls simply just do not have. So batteries is really what will influence the price of these Powerwalls for the most part. The Lucid CEO, Peter Rawlinson, tops the charts as the highest paid automotive CEO in 2022. $379 million. Elon said, beware of any company where leadership compensation is not linked to performance. From the moment Lucid went public, it is still down 36.5%. When I look at Lucid, the word or the phrase buying opportunity does not exactly come to my mind. Bankruptcy opportunity though, certainly. Drive Tesla Canada reports that the majority of Rawlinson's compensation came in the form of stock awards totaling $373 million almost. His base salary is $575,000. I wish him good luck. If he is able to make Lucid successful, he will make a lot of money. BYD takes 4.7% global market share in July to become the 5th largest car maker in the world. Bigger than Nissan, Kia, Chevy, Suzuki, and Hyundai. Keep in mind, BYD also sells a lot of hybrids. So if we look at just purely battery electric vehicles, Tesla makes more cars than BYD. Lucid is teasing a new Air Midnight Dream Edition limited production model that will debut at the IAA Mobility Show in Munich on September 5th. Well, I thought their current overall production was already limited, so another limitation on top of the existing limitation. If the trend continues, it would not be too difficult to predict what would happen next. But it seems that people are not really going to be buying this vehicle, really. Well, at least this comment suggests so. Alex, for example, is waiting for the Lucid Air Wet Dream Edition. Volkswagen ID4 just received a significant price cut. It now costs about 20,000 USD in China, which is a 25% drop from its original starting price. A lot of automakers are cutting prices in China, but by the mainstream media coverage, you would think only Tesla is doing that. I modeled Tesla until 2033, and until then, I do expect many more price cuts from Tesla. And yet, I am all in with my stock portfolio. Tesla is rolling out a new update. It's just a bug fix update though. Here's another positive review of the new refresh Model 3. They have improved the build quality and addressed almost everything I have criticized in the past. I haven't seen any negative reviews so far, at least. We now have a better understanding of why the bumper camera has been removed from all of the advertising material on Tesla's website for the refresh Model 3. Drive Tesla Canada writes, according to the third-party companion app Telescope, citing one of their sources within the automaker, the change is because the hardware and software for the front bumper camera hasn't been finalized yet. However, not all is lost, and Tesla is reportedly hoping to have it ready in time for the first deliveries, but to be safe, they decided to remove it from their images to avoid any potential confusion amongst the first owners. Here's another positive review of the refresh Model 3. Factoring everything, this is the best car in the world. If you see any negative reviews, please let me know, but so far I haven't found any. Many I think missed this, but there's an actual hook in the door which makes the car a little bit safer in an event of a collision. Yesterday, Gary Black basically made a point that journalists do not get influenced by companies that advertise on their media outlet. However, there are some important comments here. One from Sawyer: if Ford runs advertisements in a publication and then suddenly a constant flow of negative articles about Ford appear right alongside Ford's ads in the same publication, it seems likely that Ford will threaten to pull their ads from that publication. In my opinion, editors know this. And then check this out. I've worked in ad sales, digital, and can confirm there are protocols in place to not place ads next to negative articles, as it is widely known advertisers will pull budgets and will not return or reduce ad spending if such issues continuously occur. Naturally, Farzad commented, "I'm so incredibly shocked. This cannot be the case." Wow. Of course, that's tongue-in-cheek. This is actually fairly important. Australia should offer tax incentives to transform the mining nation into a hub for processing the minerals used for EVs. Australia can be more than a dig and ship nation, Tesla chair Robin told a conference in Canberra on Tuesday. If Australia actually does that, I think that would be bullish for Tesla, because Tesla would rely less on China. Most of the processing for now is still done in China, actually. Remember BYD Seal, which was supposed to completely crush Model 3 sales in China because supposedly it is better and cheaper, and it is also fully electric. Here are some of the latest sales. This goes until May of this year, and you can see that the trend is down. And this includes August as well of this year. The bars in green are from the previous year, so this is not exactly looking great for BYD. So what do you think happens when Tesla launches the next generation vehicle in China? This is relevant to us Tesla stock investors, because if this goes well, then Elon would not need to sell any more Tesla stock to specifically fund Twitter/X to clear our platform's name on the matter of anti-Semitism. It looks like we have no choice but to file a defamation lawsuit against the Anti-Defamation League, which is also known as ADL. Someone says it wouldn't be the first time that they lost a lawsuit. There's a screenshot right here. And Elon says, interesting, in our case, they would potentially be on the hook for destroying half the value of the company, so roughly $22 billion. John here asked if it really is that high, $22 billion. Elon replies, based on what we have heard from advertisers, ADL seems to be responsible for most of our revenue loss. Giving them maximum benefit of the doubt, I don't see any scenario where they are responsible for less than 10% of the value destruction, so $4 billion. Document discovery of all communications between the ADL and advertisers will tell the full story. There's a question here for Elon. Are advertisers willing to come back when you tell them the truth? Elon says advertisers avoid controversy, so all that is needed for ADL to crush our US and European ad revenue is to make unfounded accusations. They have much less power in Asia, so our ad revenue there is still strong. This controversy causes advertisers to pause, but that pause is permanent until ADL gives the green light, which they will not do without us agreeing to secretly suspend or shadow ban any account they don't like. That is the relationship they have had with X/Twitter for many years. Presumably, they have that with all Western search or social media organizations. However, James is suspicious. Is it just me, or does this ADL thing just sound like a convenient scapegoat for Elon? How many times did I tweet Elon that his inflammatory Twitter takes over the past 12 to 18 months were causing damage to his, and by extension, his company's reputations? Why is it a surprise that 60% of advertisers have not come back to Twitter/X? This should not be a surprise to anyone, and don't think for a hot minute that Tesla hasn't suffered from this too. This is no coincidence. I hope it turns around, because I think that X is heading in the right direction, but a lot of the damage to the Twitter/X brand has been done. One thing that I seriously cannot stand is when people get shadow banned. When they get banned officially, okay, disagree, agree with that, that's a whole different issue, but shadow banning, that's a big no-no for me. I absolutely hate that, because you don't know that you are shadow banned and you lose your reach, but you think that maybe it's just the algorithm, but you have your suspicions, but you just don't know for sure. So I hope Elon wins this potential lawsuit, and that Twitter/X does really well after that, which would make me as a Tesla stock investor also quite happy. One more important distinction between an official ban and a shadow ban is when there's an official ban, there can be outrage from the public. How dare you block this person? How dare you ban this person? Put this person back on the platform. But if it's a shadow ban, there's no outrage. No one really knows. Maybe just the algorithm. Maybe he's not posting good content. There's no outrage then. So shadow bans are the nastiest type, really. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching this Elon Musk interview, watch this one first. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.